Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch, and we have a lot of cards to talk about yet again this week. Commander Legends leaks have been occurring. Of course, the official previews do begin on Monday, so we're almost there. But some of those leaks have resulted in various cards going up in value. We also have a lot of players trying out new Commander decks based off the cards from Zendikar Rising. And because of that, there's a lot of cards going up in value too. We'll get into all the details. One thing you won't see in this video though are cards from the list. They're still very turbulent right now, so I haven't worked them into this series yet. Maybe in a week or two, we'll just see how that goes. Quickly before we get started though, just a fast reminder, if you go to FlipsideGaming.com, you can use the Heroes promo code to save 10% on orders over $10. Currently, they have a lot of stuff to choose from on the website. Check it out if you get a chance. For example, if you want a Zendikar Rising Collector Booster Box, once you use the promo code, it goes down to $211.50. Or if you want to pre-order a Draft Booster Box of Commander Legends, that goes down to $120. And that does include shipping in the United States for those examples. Anytime you make a purchase that's at least $100, or if you're purchasing singles, shipping will be free in the US. Also, whenever you use the promo code, it does support the channel, which is always appreciated. So thank you, and without any further ado, let's get into it. We're going to begin, as we always do with Standard, in your top 5 Standard legal cards that have lost value this week. Coming in at number 5 is Lithoform Engine. This goes down 93 cents to $17.42. Hasn't seen a whole lot of Standard play quite yet. But this is a very popular Commander card trying to find its price point. It's in some new builds like Verizal the Split Current and Omnith Locus of Creation. Also, this does work in a combo with Tanglewire, which we'll talk more about later in the video. Number 4 is Teferi, Master of Time. It goes down $1.08 to $16.57, and sometimes you'll find this in Azorius Control, but overall it's not seeing a whole lot of Standard play right now. In Commander, it's in builds like Atraxa Praetor's Voice. Of course, that just got reprinted in Double Masters. It's also in Muldrotha the Gravetide, Omnith Locus of Creation, and more. Number 3 is Scourge of the Skyclaves, down $1.26 to $14.99. This isn't seeing too much Standard play either, but it is seeing some modern play in Death Shadow builds and more over there. It also combos with Archfiend of Despair and Commander. In Commander, you'll find this in Nethrite Apex of Death builds and others. Number 2 is Brazen Borrower. This goes down $1.31 to $17.74. This was reprinted in the list. Actually, the version of the card that they use there is the showcase copy. Now, this is seeing a lot of play in a lot of different places. In Standard, it's in Dimir Rogues, Dimir Control, and more. Pioneer, it's in Dimir Control and more decks there. In Modern, you'll find this in Blitz, Electro Balance, Merfolk is a Control, and even more there too. This even sees Legacy play in Izzet Delver and also other decks in that format. It has seen increased Commander play as well in Anawan the Rune Thief builds. And of course, that is the front-facing Commander for the Sneak Attack Zendikar Rising Commander deck. Some players are trying to build around that card from scratch. Other players are looking to upgrade the existing deck there. You're also going to find this in other builds like Tazri Beacon of Unity, Zareth Sand the Trickster, Inniez the Gale Force, and Linvala Shield of Seagate. And number 1, another card that's been very popular, has been going up in value, begins to stabilize down now as more packs are getting cracked. It is Agadeem's Awakening. It goes down $2.94 to $16.49. And this is seeing a ton of play as well. You're going to find this in a lot of Standard decks like Dimir Control, Dimir Rogues, Golgari Adventures. Most of the time this shows up in Rakdos Midrange and more. Pioneer, it's in Dredgeless Dredge, Rakdos Pyromancer. In Modern, you'll find this in Rakdos Death Shadow, Oops All Spells, and more there. Legacy, it shows up in Charbelcher decks there. And in Commander, another card you'll find in Anawan the Rune Thief. Also, this is in Aura Skyclave Hierophant and much more. That brings us to the top 5 Standard legal cards that have gained value this week. Number 5, Bala Ged Recovery, up 48 cents to $2.16. This does see Standard play in Naya Ramp and other decks there. Also in Pioneer, you're going to find this in Lotus Cobra and Dredgeless Dredge. Modern, it shows up in Charbelcher. And it does see a lot of Commander play in lands builds and more there. Number 4 is Kroxa, Titan of Death's Hunger. It goes up 52 cents to $20. And this does see play in Standard, Rakdos Midrange, Grixis Control, Pioneer, a little play there too, and Rakdos Pyromancer. But this thing is all over the place right now in Modern. Rakdos Death Shadow, Jund, Rakdos Lurrus Aggro, Rakdos Midrange, Mardu Stoneblade. Also, it's a fairly popular commander and does show up in the 99 and many other builds there. Number 3 is Bright Climb Pathway. This goes up 69 cents to $3.35. You'll find this one in Esper Doom Foretold and more in Standard. In Pioneer, it's in Orzhov Auras and Orzhov Humans. And it is seeing a fair amount of Commander play in Aura Skyclave, Hierophant, and more there. Number 2, the Great Henge, goes up 99 cents to $28.99. This is seeing a lot more Standard play since rotation occurred. You can find this in a lot of places. Gruul Adventures, Golgari Adventures, Mono Green Aggro, Selesnya Blank, and more. Sometimes you'll even find this in Mono Green Planeswalkers and Pioneer. Commander, it's in some new decks there like Verizal the Split Current, Ishaya Soul of the Wild, and more. And it did get a Command Zone mention this week too in their podcast, which could have brought some more eyes onto it as well. Number 1 is Skyclave Apparition. This card has been super hot, going up $1.26 to $8.11, maybe finally starting to stabilize a little bit as more packs get cracked, but it is seeing play all over the place. Standard, it's in Blink builds, Mono White Aggro, Boros Winota, and more. Pioneer, it's in Spirits, Bant Company. Modern, it's in Death and Taxes, Spirits decks there too, Titan Field, Company builds, Stoneblade builds, sometimes even in Humans and more. Legacy, you'll find it in Death and Taxes in that format as well. Esper Vial, and it does even see some Commander play too. And that's going to take us to Pioneer and the top 7 Pioneer legal cards that have lost value this week. Coming in at number 7 is Breeding Pool from Gatecrash. It goes down 93 cents to $20. Some of these Shocklands are still a little soft from rotating out of Standard not too long ago. This one, of course, sees play in Pioneer, 4-color Omnith, Wilderness Reclamation, Lotus Combo, and more. And like all Shocklands, this will continue to see Modern and Commander play too. Number 6 is the Scarab God from Hour of Devastation. It goes down $1.08 to $14.49. This was reprinted in Double Masters, but you'll find this in the sideboard of Niv to Light many times in Pioneer. It's also a very popular Commander and has seen increased play in Anawan the Rune Thief builds. Number 5 is Zakama Primal Calamity. It goes down $1.36 to $25.81. This is normalizing after some increases a few months ago. This is a popular Commander, and it's also in decks like Gishath Sun's Avatar. Additionally, it has seen increased play in Commander Omnith Locus of Creation builds. What's cool about this card is it can be a fair card if you want to play that way, or if you have a way to continually bounce it and replay it, it can create loops for you too. Number 4, Aurelia the War Leader. This goes down $1.79 to $17.17, but this is the copy from the Guilds of Ravnica Boros Guild Kit. This particular copy only comes in foil, and if you remember, it did spike not too long ago, so we are seeing some normalization now. It is a fairly popular Commander, and also many times it does show up in Kaalia of the Vast builds, which of course was reprinted in Double Masters. Beyond that, you'll find this in other builds too, like Akiri Fearless Voyager. Number 3 is another Shockland here. It is Hallowed Fountain from Dissension, going down $1.93 to $21.84. You'll find this one in Esper Control, Spirits, Jeskai Luka, and more. And like I mentioned with Breeding Pool, this is a Shockland, so it will get Modern and Commander play too. Number 2 is Omnith Locus of Rage from Battle for Zendikar. It goes down $2.40 to $8.99. Now, this should be a very popular card right now, considering all of the attention on lands builds. This is a very popular Commander, and it's even seeing increased play now in some new decks. Omnith Locus of Creation, Obun Moldaya Ancestor, Violet the World Sculptor, and more. Additionally, we saw in the Commander Legends leaks that there are a lot of cards that still support landfall strategies. So you'll notice as we go through the video today, there's a lot of cards that tie into these landfall Commander decks that are still hot. So having said all that, why is this card so cold right now? Well, it is because it got reprinted not once, but twice. You can find a new copy of this in the list, and there's also a copy of this in the Zendikar Rising Lands Wrath Commander deck. Number 1 is another Omnith, Locus of Creation, down $2.67 to $16.79. Gameplay-wise, this card is super hot right now, showing up in a ton of places. Financially, it is cold, and of course that is because it was banned a week ago in Standard. Now in Pioneer, though, you will find this in Niv to Light, 4-color Omnith, Yorion Ramp, sometimes Wilderness Reclamation. Modern, it's in Uro Piles, Niv to Light, Copycat, 5-color Elementals, and more. And of course, this is a huge Commander right now. A lot of players are building around it. Plus, it is showing up in the 99 of a lot of other builds there too. That brings us to the top 7 Pioneer legal cards that have gained value this week. And yet again, you're going to notice that the key driver for cards going up in value throughout the rest of this video really is Commander more than anything. Number 7 is Archangel of Thune. This is the copy from Double Masters. It goes up 82 cents this week to $11.21, trying to find its price point. Very popular Commander card. You'll find this one in Oloro Ageless Ascetic builds. Of course, that was reprinted recently in the list. Also in Kaalia of the Vast decks and other places too in the format. Number 6 is the Immortal Sun. It goes up 82 cents to 22.87. This one is bouncing back from some recent losses. In Commander, you'll find this in Kozilek the Great Distortion and more decks there. Remember, the Kozilek builds have been getting a little push by a new Zendikar Rising card, Forsaken Monument. Number 5 is Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth from Ultimate Masters. It goes up $1.01 to 27.55. And brace yourself, this card does see play in Pioneer. You'll find this in Mono Black Aggro, Rakdos Pyromancer, and more there. Also sees Modern and Legacy play, but of course additionally it is a highly played Commander card in many builds. Plays very well with Cabal Coffers there. Number 4 is Sword of the Animus, the copy from archenemy Nicol Bolas. It goes up $1.03 to 13.33. This card's been pretty hot in general. However, this is the only copy of the card this week that hasn't stabilized enough to come off the list. With that being said, we've talked a lot about this card over the last few weeks. It has been seeing play in Commander for a while, in Sir Gwyn, Hero of Ashvale builds and more, but now it's showing up in a lot of newer decks as well. Anawan the Rune Thief, Akiri Fearless Voyager, Charx the Raging Isle, Omnith Locus of Creation, and Phylith World Sculptor. Also too, this could get a push in the future based on one of the cards that we saw in the Commander Legends leaks. Now when it comes to the leaks, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about the cards because I know a lot of people want to wait for the official preview season, which starts Monday. And also too, the leaks were in German language, so you have to remember these are loosely translated. Sometimes they were translated off a bad photograph too. So with all that in mind, what I'll do when I come across anything like this in the video, I'll give you the translated name of the card that ties into the card we're talking about. And if you're interested, then you have a chance to look it up. But basically the card I'm referring to that could tie into this one is Wyleth Soul of Steel. That's a card that could actually make some other equipment cards or even auras become more popular in the future. Number 3 is Admiral Beckett Brass. This goes up $1.51 to $2.50 this week. This is a fairly popular commander, but again, it is the Commander Legends leaks that are pushing this card right now. Turns out that set is going to bring us a lot of pirates, and there's also a treasure token theme that ties in with them. Number 2 is Scapeshift. It is going up again this week. Morning Tide up $1.03 to 24.79. Corset 2019 goes up $1.53 to 21.07. Now this is seeing play in modern Scapeshift decks, of course, but in Commander it's always been a good card in lands builds and more. Now it is showing up in new decks like Omnith Locus of Creation, Obun Moldiah Ancestor. Remember, again, that is another front-facing commander. You can find that one in the Zendikar Rising Lands Wrath deck, and some people are building around that card from scratch. Others are just trying to upgrade that deck. Another new build where you will find this is Phylith World Sculptor as well. And number 1 is another card we've discussed a lot recently. It is Crucible of Worlds. Core set 2019 up $1.75 to $44.95. Fifth Dawn goes up $2.56 to $58.80. This is another card that doesn't see a whole lot of Pioneer play or anything, but it does see play in Modern, Legacy, and Vintage. Maybe not as much play as it saw a number of months ago, but it is still kicking around in a lot of decks in those formats. It is also, however, a highly played Commander card in lands builds and more, which is why this card has been so hot. It has seen increased play in Omnith Locus of Creation, Obun Moldiah Ancestor, Phylith World Sculptor, and like I said earlier, keep an eye on all these Land Matters cards because there are more cards coming from Commander Legends that are going to play into those strategies. Also too, this happened to get yet another Command Zone mention this week. That brings us to Modern and your top 5 Modern legal cards that have lost value this week. Coming in at number 5 is Aboro Palace in the Clouds. It goes down $2.21 to $52.75. This spiked recently, of course, with all the Commander focus on landfall. This does see some Modern play in Mill and more, but of course it has seen increased play in Omnith Locus of Creation in Commander. Number 4 is Gemstone Caverns. This goes down $3.21 to $45.99. This card's been hot recently, trying to stabilize and find its price point. You'll find this one in Mono Blue Tron, Dredge, and more, and it also does see a fair amount of Commander play too. Number 3 is Mana Reflection from Shadowmoor. This did get reprinted in Double Masters, which is why it is soft. It goes down $3.52 to $24.65. And this is a solid Commander card in many builds. It does see play in some newer decks too, like Verizal the Split Current and Ashaya Soul of the Wild. Number 2 is the almost affordable now, Jace the Mind Sculptor. Masters 25 goes down $2.23 to $63.01. Eternal Masters down $3.57 to $66.14. And of course, this is soft because, again, it was reprinted in Double Masters. You will find this in a lot of Modern decks, though. Uro Piles, Control builds, Legacy, it's in Snowco, Miracles builds there, and more. Also see some Vintage and Commander play, too. And number 1 is the Worldwide copy of Omnith Locus of Mana. It goes down $5.41 to $37.10. So this card has been super hot. Partially what you're seeing here is some normalization after some pretty big spikes, but also it is getting a reprint in the Commander Collection green product. It is a very popular commander. It's now seeing increased play in Omnith Locus of Creation and Dashaya Soul of the Wild builds as well. On to the top 7 modern legal cards that have gained value this week. Coming in at number 7 is Grave Pact. 10th edition goes up $1.34 to $23.01. 8th edition up $2.21 to $29.52. This has seen increased commander play in Aura Skyclave Hierophant builds recently, but again, there is a Commander Legends leak that could be pushing this one a little bit. The name of the card is Tevesh Zat, Doom of Fools. Number 6 is Gift of Estates, but this is the one from Portal going up $2.25 to $8.38. Now, it does see a fair amount of play in Commander, but the reason this card keeps showing up on these lists, either going up a lot or going down a lot depending on the week, is the fact that this particular Portal copy is just getting hard to find online in good condition. And sometimes when a card dries up like this, it will go up in value, then the next week people see it going up in value, they try to sell or trade copies, and then it goes back down, and all of a sudden they dry up and it goes back up again. So that's what you're seeing here. Don't read too much into this one. The other copies of this are much cheaper. Number 5 is Reflecting Pool from Shadowmoor. It goes up $2.46 to $24. Huge Commander mana base card in a lot of decks. Number 4, Kozilek Butcher of Truth. In Modern, this is in Mardu Stoneblade. Sometimes you'll find this in Legacy Mono Green Cloud Post. But of course, the reason the card has been as hot as it is Commander. You'll find this in Kozilek, the Great Distortion builds there, and more. Ultimate Masters goes up $2.01 to $56.99. Modern Masters 2015 up $2.20 to $59.99. Rise of the Eldrazi up $2.54 this week to $64. Number 3 is Flagstones of Trocaire from Time Spiral. It goes up $2.57 to $18.49. And this does see play in Aladamri's Toolbox, which is a pretty popular Modern deck right now, and other places too in the format. This also gets a little Legacy play and has seen increased Commander play in Omnith Locus of Creation and Yasharn Implacable Earth. Number 2 is Auriok Champion. The one from 5th Dawn is still going up quite a bit this week, up $2.58 to $16.99. In Modern, this is in Humans, Selesnya Company, and more. It has seen increased Commander play in Aura Skyclave Hierophant, and also, aside from being a cleric, it is a mono-white human. There are some players interested in building around Rick Grimes from the controversial Walking Dead Secret Lair. This could work well in a Rick Steadfast Leader build too. Number 1 is Polluted Delta from Onslaught, the original. It goes up $6.18 to $51.99, and of course the enemy fetches have been hot for a long time. Finally, those have started to calm down with the reprintings they've been doing and the announcement that they're going to be reprinted again next year in Modern Horizons 2. But what about the ally fetch lands? Well, they did get reprints as Zendikar Rising Expeditions, but we don't know when they're going to be reprinted again at this point. Over time, they could start to creep up in value potentially depending on what happens in the future. These original Onslaught ones especially may have collectors interested in them. This particular one sees Modern play in Europiles, Mill, and more, and because it is a fetch land, it also sees play in Legacy, Vintage, and Commander. And that brings us to the Vintage Spotlight. This is where we talk about cards that see play in 93, 94, Legacy, Vintage, or cards that are just popular among collectors. Recently, that has meant a lot of cards that were bought out. We are still seeing some of that, but not as much as we were seeing. You can see things are starting to stabilize just a little bit. As I typically do in the Vintage Spotlight section, I'm just going to tell you if the card is not on the reserve list. Mana Vault from 4th edition, not on the reserve list. It goes up $2.45 to $47.41. Great Vintage and Commander card. Necropotence, not on the reserve list. This particular copy only comes in foil. It's from Deckmasters Garfield vs. Finkel. It goes up $3.17 to $55.15 this week. Very popular Commander card. Seeing a little additional play now in Aura Skyclave Hierophant builds. Also, it's in Vintage, Doomsday, and more. The only revised dual land on this list today, it is Underground Sea. It goes up $7.01 to $6.57. Vampiric Tutor, not on the reserve list. Visions goes up $1.28 to $101.66. 6th edition goes up $9.14 to $107.79. Of course, this is a great tutor in Commander and Vintage, and it did get a Command Zone mention this week too. Mold Demon, this goes up $10.79 to $35.99. Jandor's Saddlebags. Now, this is the one from Arabian Nights that is not on the reserve list. It has been reprinted if you want cheaper copies. It goes up $10.88 to $28.58. It just goes to show you that it's not just about the reserve list when it comes to these old sets. Pixie Queen goes up $11.52 to $68.47. Dancing Scimitar, not on the reserve list, and again, this was reprinted, but the Arabian Nights copy goes up $14.27 to $72.18. Cyclopean Tomb from Unlimited goes up 1427 to 11061. Strip Mine, not on the reserve list. The copy that's moving this week is the one you see on the screen. It's from Antiquities, but it's the variation that has that uneven horizon line. It goes up 1659 this week to 99.98. Chromium, not on the reserve list. If you want a cheap copy, check out Chronicles, but this Legends copy goes up 17.93 this week to 49.99. Mind Twist from Unlimited, not on the reserve list, but this copy goes up $25 to $80 this week. Okay, for the rest of the section beginning at this point, I'm not only going to tell you what it appears the card is moving up to, but also what recent sales have looked like. Sometimes if you look at the big websites, some of that data for cards that don't see a lot of sales in a given week is coming from asking price, and that doesn't always necessarily mean people are paying that for the card. So let's look at Argivian Archaeologist. It goes up $28 to $248 this week technically, but does it really? If you look at sales, high-grade copies have been selling around $150 to $195, which is actually more than they were selling for last week. Fork from Unlimited got one more copy printed and revised, technically going up $34.99 this week to $149.99. Is that true? Well, high-grade copies have been selling between $70 and $115, so close. Ramses Overdark is also close, technically going up $43.45 to $99.95. High-grade copies have been selling for $70 to $80. Here's Plateau from Unlimited. Of course, this did get one more printing and revised. It goes up $50.02 to $550 this week. And that's actually pretty accurate. If you look at high-grade sales, they can go between $400 and $800. Typically, light plate copies go for around $400. The near mint ones around $800. The reason sometimes that you see cards move up and down dramatically like this is just simply because you don't have a lot of copies selling or even for sale some weeks. All Hallows Eve, this one is actually pretty much right on too, going up $75.41 to $399.22. I found high-grade copies selling for $300 to $400. Diamond Valley up $122.49 to $844.99 this week technically. This one, high-grade copies were selling for about $620, so a little bit less than $845. And the egregious market manipulation of the week again goes to Mishra's Workshop. Technically, it's gone up $1,199.99 to $9,499.98 this week. Now, remember, when I do these videos, I don't necessarily pull the prices the same exact time every week. So I do think this is actually about to fall off the list altogether. But if you wanted to get a true high-grade copy of this, would you spend $9,500? No, you would spend closer to $3,000. Still expensive, though. And that brings us to the Commander Spotlight. A lot of cards to talk about. We'll get right into it. Polluted Bonds is back again, up at $1.05 to $22.89 this week, and some players might want this just because of all the land-centric commander decks that are out there right now. This does show up in a few different builds currently. This is also another card that could be getting a push from one of those Commander Legends leaks. Feels like it might be a nice companion to Nightshade Harvester. Cloud Key from Future Sight up at $1.09 to $28.02. Solid commander card in Joyro, whether like Captain builds and more. Remember, Joyro was reprinted in Double Masters. Vidalcan Orrery from Conspiracy up at $1.12 to $34.49. Highly played commander card in many builds. Trade Routes from 9th edition up at $1.16 to $7.99. This has seen increased commander play in Nomineth Locus of Creation and Charx the Raging Isle decks. Preacher on the reserve list, it goes up at $1.16 to $71.21. Finally feels like this card is beginning to even out a little bit. Obviously, it was the target of a buyout recently. I would say, though, there is logic behind the buyout because potentially this card could see more play in the future in Commander. It is a cleric. It actually is already seeing some more play in Aura Skyclave Hierophant builds. Also, it is a mono-white human with a unique ability, so some players might want it for a Rick Steadfast leader deck. Lion's Eye Diamond on the reserve list up at $1.21 to $346.49. Now, that's not a very big increase, but it is an indication that maybe this card is stabilizing a little bit and could be poised to move up again soon. Now, this does see play in Commander and a number of different builds, also sees a fair amount of Legacy and Vintage play. Winds of Change from 5th edition, solid commander card in Nekusar, the Mind Razor, and more. It goes up at $1.23 to $17.99. Staff of Domination from 5th Dawn up at $1.23 to $53.54. Now, this is a very popular commander card. It's in numerous builds. It's a great way to use your extra mana at any given time during the game. Also a good combo enabler. This card lost a lot of value last week because, again, if you were watching those Commander Legends leaks, you know this is going to be in the set. However, it lost so much value last week that it is bouncing back a little this week. Emiel the Blessed, this is a jumpstart card. We've talked in the past about some of the supply issues this set has had. This card in particular going up $1.28 this week to $62.50. Now this is a fairly popular commander, also seeing play in some of these brand new builds like Yasharn Implacable Earth, and of course the ever popular Omnith Locus of Creation. Also, this could be getting a push again from a Commander Legends leak. The card this time is Kodama of the East Tree. Riku of Two Reflections, the copy from Commander. This just got reprinted in Double Masters, but this is going up this week, $1.31 to $20.47. Pretty popular commander. Cover of Darkness, up $1.36 to $17.49. This has seen increased commander play in Anowon the Rune Thief builds. This is also in Yuriko the Tiger Shadow builds, and of course that got reprinted not too long ago in Mystery Boosters. Here's Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth's partner in crime. It is Cabal Coffers from Torment. It goes up $1.40 to $68.58 this week. Highly played commander card in multiple builds. Has seen some increased play recently in Tiny Bones Trinket Thief. Piracy, the one from Portal Second Age, goes up $1.42 to $29. And this does see a little commander play, but again, I think this is an example of a card that is getting harder and harder to find in good condition. Intuition on the reserve list, but they did make a judge foil of this before they closed that loophole. It goes up $1.42 to $138.63. Again, not a huge increase, but it does give you the indication that maybe this card is stable right now. It does see play in Commander and Legacy. Muxus Goblin Grandy, another jumpstart card here. It goes up $1.45 to $31.18. This is a fairly popular commander, but many times it's found in other builds like Krenko Mob Boss. That card was reprinted in Jumpstart. Also, you can find this in Legacy Goblins. Painter Servant from Shadowmoor, up $1.45 to $47.18. This has seen a little increased commander play in Bruvek the Grandiloquent. This also does see Legacy play though too. Tangle Wire from Nemesis, up $1.46 to $9.29. This shows up in a number of different builds. Maybe one of the more popular ones is Yasan the Wanderer Bard. Also, this can show up in some competitive builds as well out there in the format. Now, I mentioned earlier that you can create a combo with this in Lithoform Engine. And basically what you would need is this Lithoform Engine, Brago King Eternal, Soul Ring, or another mana rock that can generate 2 mana, and a permanent that lets you draw a card when it enters the battlefield. Traditionally, this combo was used with Strionic Resonator, but Lithoform Engine is now a redundancy for that card in the combo. Bitter Blossom for Modern Masters 2015. It goes up $1.46 to $35.10, and this was reprinted not too long ago in the Bitter Blossom Dream Secret Lair. It has seen increased commander play in Anowon the Rune Thief and Kjell's Fight Fixer. Also, it does see modern play currently too. Didgeridoo, this goes up $1.49 to $14.87. It is on the reserve list, and that could be the main reason it's going up, but it does see play in Sethron Hurloon general builds and other places too. Pact of Negation from Future Sight, up $1.49 to $38.87. This was reprinted in the list. It does see a lot of commander play, especially in competitive builds. In Modern, this is in Amulet Titan, Ad Nauseam, Oops All Spells, and more. Sees Legacy play too. Helm of Obedience, this is on the reserve list. Again, probably the reason it's moving. It goes up $1.50 to $42.51 this week. This does see Commander and Legacy play. Craterhoof Behemoth from Avacyn Restored, recently reprinted in Jumpstart, but this copy goes up $1.64 to $46.04. And this has seen increased commander play in Omnith Locus of Creation, Ashaya Soul of the Wild, and Phylith World Sculptor. This is also in Legacy Elves, and it did get a Command Zone mention this week. If That Betrays from Rise of the Eldrazi, up $1.66 to $16.79. This does see play in Kozilek, the Great Distortion builds, and more. Sensei's Divining Top from Eternal Masters, up $1.66 to $51.97. Highly played commander card, especially good in Yuriko the Tiger Shadow builds. Also sees play in Vintage. And again, there could be a card from Commander Legends pushing this one a little bit too. This time the name of the card is Amareth the Shimmering. Safe Haven, the original copy from the Dark, up $1.74 to $5.63. I have noticed that a lot of cards from the Dark have been getting hot recently, and I do think that's because it is an early expansion. Now, the print run was much higher than the previous expansions. The one before this was Legends. However, in some cases, it is getting harder to find these cards in good condition too. You want to keep that in mind. Now, with that being said, this does see a little play in Commander in various builds. Cursed Totem, this is the one from 6th edition, up $1.75 to $24.89. And this is in a number of decks, including Godo Bandit Warlord, which was reprinted recently in Double Masters. Eladamri's Call, this is the one from Plane Shift. It goes up $1.76 to $7.38. And this has seen increased commander play in Omnith Locus of Creation, Yasharn Implacable Earth, Obun Moldaya Ancestor. Also sees play in Modern in the deck I mentioned earlier, Eladamri's Toolbox, and more there. Sylvan Library from Eternal Masters, up $1.76 to $61.73. This card's been soft recently because we know it is getting reprinted in Commander Collection Green. This week it does bounce up a little bit though. It is a highly played commander card, sees play in Legacy and Vintage too. Frankenstein's Monster, another card from the dark. This one is on the reserve list. It goes up $1.86 to $8.77. Now this does see a little commander play, not all that much though. I do feel like this is more of a panic buy than anything, as a lot of players are seeing a number of these reserve list cards go up in value. Could be a similar thing happening here. Lake of the Dead on the reserve list up $1.86 to $70, but this one has seen increased commander play in Tiny Bones Trinket Thief. Force of Will from Alliances, this was reprinted in Double Masters, but this copy is going up $1.86 to $102.23. This sees play in Legacy, Vintage, and Commander. Mana Web on the reserve list, it goes up $2.05 this week to $22.98. This does see some play in the format, but again, this is another example of a card that is drying up online. Perhaps another reserve list panic buy. Ball Lightning from the dark up $2.08 to $22.25, and this does see play in Greven Predator Captain and more, but I do feel like this is just an example of the original copy of the card drying up online this week. Multani Maro Sorcerer, this goes up $2.29 to $11.99. It is on the reserve list. Now this does get a little commander play in Grothama All Devouring, for example. But again, it feels like this is just a situation where the card is drying up, most likely due to panic buying. Tolarian Entrancer, now this one is on the reserve list, and the percentage jump is pretty significant. It goes up $2.35 to $5.24. Doesn't see a whole lot of commander play, but I feel like this one could be the start of a targeted buyout, perhaps. Here's another card that feels like it's getting swept up in a panic buy, Season of the Witch from the dark on the reserve list. It goes up $2.45 to $29.70. Sees a little commander play, but really not all that much. Archfiend of Despair, this goes up $2.49 to $24.47. We mentioned this card earlier because it does combo with Scourge of the Skyclaves. This is in many commander builds like Kali of the Vast, for example, also seeing play in new decks like Tabarak's Hope's Demise and Drana the Last Blood Chief. Rotlung Reanimator, this one is a cleric, and this card's been hot. It goes up $3.56 this week to $12.72. Of course, it has seen increased commander play in Aura Skyclave Hierophant, also some increased play in Tabarak's Hope's Demise. But again, there is a Commander Legends card that could be pushing this a little bit. The card to look for in the leaks is the Least Dignified Medium. Next is Titania, Protector of Argoth. This card's been hot too. Commander 2014 up $1.56 to $24.84. Commander Anthology up $3.86 to $29.73. This is a fairly popular commander, but it is another card that is in lands builds and seeing more play in Omnith Locus of Creation, Ashaya Soul of the Wild, and Obun Moldaya Ancestor. Sliver Queen, this one's on the reserve list. It goes up $5.12 to $229.99. Sliver commander decks remain hot. They've really been hot ever since the reprinting of Sliver Hivelord and Sliver Overlord not too long ago. Corsair Captain, this one's from Jumpstart, so you know there's already supply issues attached to this. It does see some commander play currently in Admiral Beckett Brass builds, but of course this is going up because of Commander Legends leaks. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, it does appear that Pirate Tribal is going to be a relatively big part of the set, and tied in with that a treasure token theme as well. This card goes up $5.58 this week to $8.24. City of Shadows, another card from the dark, this one on the reserve list. It was the target of a buyout not too long ago. Since then it has come down in value, but sometimes what happens is when people see these cards spike and then come back down, eventually they just feel like, okay, I'm going to pull the trigger and buy it before it spikes again. I think that's what you're seeing here. This goes up $6.99 to $54.49. It does see some commander play. Stone Calendar from the dark on the reserve list up $7.58 to $30.10. This again sees a little commander play, but not all that much. When you look at this price movement, it really does feel like a targeted buyout more than anything this week. Last Chance, this is the Portal copy going up $10.40 this week to $25.75. A couple things going on here. Yes, this does see a little commander play in Godo Bandit Warlord and more. Yes, this is also another card that's getting harder to find in good condition online. But the main catalyst for the movement this week is again another Commander Legends leak. This time it's Obeka Heartless Chronologist. And that brings us to the premium spotlight. You know how I feel about these cards. I don't like to spend too much time talking about these rare promos or rare foils, because if you don't get enough sales in any given week of the particular card, your data could be skewed. In worst case scenario, it could be manipulated. But I like to pick at least one card every week that feels like it's moving somewhat naturally with the market. This week I went with Polluted Bonds. The foil copy from Shadowmoor goes up $33.82 this week to $116.55. We talked about why this card's going up earlier, but it is a Shadowmoor card, and before I'm out of time, I'm going to use my one per video. You know that this is the time period of Magic when there was a recession in the game, less packs were cracked, These cards, when they're not reprinted, can get pretty spiky when players want to pick them up. The foils even that much more so. Hey, guess what? We made it. That's it. And that is another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch in the books. I always appreciate you sticking around with me to the end. As always, stay safe out there. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon and have a great day.